In this video, I'll be taking a look at Tampines again because many bus enthusiasts, they seem to misunderstand the reasons why certain routes are routed in a certain manner, like within Tampines. First example I would use is 19, present day 19 and 29. So in short, 19, the present day version, is the straight route, and 29 is the windy route. I already know the history of these routes. It's just that every now and then I need a refresher on the dates that said amendments actually took place. So Service 19, current generation, it has been there since 1994. Whereas Service 29, the amendment to Street 41 and Avenue 9, it has been there ever since like more than 20 years ago. Okay, apologies, I need to make this a little bit more accurate because 29 goes inside. So anyways, the main point is that 29's role in within Tampines at Tampines Avenue 9, its role has already been cemented ever since like 20 years ago. And because of that, it doesn't make sense to amend 29 in any way out of Avenue 9 because 29, it passes through like the main corridor which is Avenue 9 in this case. Then you might be wondering, okay, before 29 even got amended to Street 41 and Avenue 9 in the first place, what was its original route? So its original route is Avenue 7, 4, and 5. I think the original Tampines terminal was somewhere near Darul Gufran Mosque. I don't know the exact location, but basically the one in purple was basically 29's route in the past. But the reason why 19, the straight line route, even exists in the first place is because 29 used to be like this, and then it went Old Tampines Road, and then it also went Cranwell, Netheravon, Changi Village, and then it looped inside Changi Airport Cargo Complex. This was 29. But then I think over the years, when Changi Airport Cargo Complex, it grew in demand and people were like demanding a more direct service to reach the central hub, which is Tampines in this case. They decided that it would be best to truncate 29 to loop at Changi Village like this. So they just cut off this sector, basically cut off this Changi Village Road sector, and then they made they made service 19 basically, okay, this is Loyang Avenue, and they just made 19 beeline all the way here. And in compensation for cutting off this Changi Airport Cargo Complex sector, again, now this didn't happen immediately, but what I'm trying to say is that over the years they realized that like, okay, 29 and 19, we gotta give a little bit more use to 29, right? Since 19 is already straight line, and then 29 just seems like a windier version of 19. So 20 years ago, they were like, okay, let's give Service 29 a new role. Let it serve the main corridor of like Avenue 9 in this case, and then Avenue 7. The simplest explanation that I could probably give is that the people living along Old Tampines Road and basically Upper Changi Road North, that area plus Changi Village, they aren't really in a rush to like reach the central hub, right? And that explains the reason why between 1994 and 2003, was it? Ah, yes. There might have been, again, I didn't stay in Tampines, but there might have been a gradual decline in 29's ridership. So they were like, okay, let me give it a new purpose. There are schools along here, maybe a few amenities and stuff like that. So they were like, okay, let's bring 29 closer to the schools. And in hopes that like people along Old Tampines Road, they actually want to commute to like Tampines Avenue 9. And keep in mind, this thing happened in the past. Like I'm talking about like more than 20 years ago. So yes, they amended 29 to wind back then. And then over the years, all the flats along this area, they TOP. Okay, to be fair, I think the flats were already there even before 29 got amended. But the main point is that once you do this kind of major, or you might even say drastic change to 29's route, and then now this thing is its permanent route. Once you amend it and you change it and you cement it, lock it in place, fix it, whatever you call it, it is now very, very difficult to amend 29 out of this area simply because of just how many people it now serves. I'm saying this because there have been people that try to amend either 19 or 29 in hopes of like getting rid of 291, like the whole feeder integration bullshit. Now, there is absolutely no issue with 291. It is like one of the most straightforward feeder services that you can ever have, especially the East Loop. So again, like from like more than 20 years ago, Old Tampines Road has already been fixed. 固定されている. So, and then this section has also been fixed. So when you fix a sector, you just don't change it. Because I've seen them like doing, I don't know what to 29, but like either this or they're like, okay, let's do this to 29 and make it wind inside places whereby it's not even supposed to be winding in the first place. Historically, there was also service 28. The old route was just like this, 9 and 2. And then there was 18. The old route was just 7 and 2. It was quite simple. So I'm going to be talking about 28 now. This was its old route. And when it absorbed service 152, they were like, okay, I want to, instead of like, I've talked about this in another video, instead of like making 28 ply the main corridor, they're like, okay, there are lots of flats along this area that we want to like take advantage of. So they amended 28 to go inside like this. Why, you might ask? Well, it's basically to make all these residents like along Street 45 and 34 have access to Tampines Mart, and also because Street 34 used to have no bus stop, and then they're like, okay, we want a bus service inside Street 34, and this was before Service 18 even came into the picture. So they're like, okay, we want access to Tampines Mart. We want to give Street 45 and 34 access to Tampines Mart, and then the community club over here, and then schools here, church here, and stuff like that. That's the reason why they amended 28. It wasn't really because of like, oh, we want to make 28 eat up feeders or do a feeder row or anything. No, because there was like an actual need to connect these residents to the various amenities, I would say, and Neon Secondary as well. So in case people ask like, why is it that 28 goes inside Street 45 in the first place, and why is it that 29 is outside along Avenue 9? This is the reason, because it doesn't really make a lot of sense to, you know, make a route do Street 45 and then like this, right? Because, I mean, this the way you connect bus routes, this just makes way more sense. It's like you have one route that's like this, and then you have another route that's like this. It just makes sense. And then there's another issue. Why don't you make service 28 go via Avenue 9 instead? Why don't you make service 8? Why don't you make service 28 call outside Tampines East Station? There is one issue. You would be breaking the link between Street 45, 34, 32, I mean the streets, and Avenue 2 as well. You just be like cutting off connectivity. And even if the reason that you give is like, oh, why not we just amend current service 18 to do this? So to put it simply, this is a shorter route. This is a longer route ever since it absorbed Service 152. This one is it's a trunk route, but this is just for your understanding. This is not an official term or anything, but it's just to help with your understanding. It is what you call like inter-town. So there are intra-town routes that they only make their rounds within the town, right? Like they don't even go outside of your town. That's called intra-town or town link, depending on the branding. Inter-town basically just refers to like the buses that serve more than one town. Usually, I would say I only really use the term intertown. Again, it's not an official term. It's just to help with your understanding. I only use this intertown term when it's a short distance bus service that serves two towns. Like you could say 68, you could say 872 in this context. So 18 would be one of them. Tampines and Bedok. Tampines North I would count it like within Tampines. So just Tampines and Bedok. Not whatever bullshit definition that some people use. But to keep it simple, this is a shorter route. This is a longer route. This one only travels like within neighborhood sectors. This one, on the other hand, it traverses through like a main road, like New Upper Changi Road, I mean in the other direction, Sims Avenue East, Paya Lebar Road, Tai Seng area, Upper Paya Lebar Road, and also Bartley, Bradle, and Topayo basically. So all the roads that I've mentioned, especially Bartley, Bradle, Upper Paya Lebar Road, they are extremely congestion prone, and obviously this would affect or have impacts on the overall reliability of 28 in general. But there is absolutely nothing wrong with Service 28's design. Now, I do understand that this bus service doesn't really have good frequencies, and neither does this, but it absolutely has got something to do with this is a shorter route, this is a longer route that is really, really prone to congestion. So it would make much more sense to amend the shorter route to do a hub spoke role as opposed to amending 28 to do a hub spoke role. Because if your intention is to connect people to the nearest MRT station, it is not advisable to make them rely on a congestion prone service. You would rather take something that's not really affected by any external congestion, regardless of whether in this case service 18 has good or bad frequency in the first place. Now that's a completely different issue. It's just that if your role is hub spoke, you don't want it to be affected by all this external traffic. Like as much as possible, you try to reduce it. And that's the reason why you make service 18 call Tampines East to do the hub spoke role instead of service 28. Not to mention that if you take a look at the bus stops, for people who are going to Tampines Mart, this is the bus stop pair. And there is one bus stop over here that was created so that people from service 18, ever since the amendment to Street 33, could now have better access to Tampines Mart. Okay, sure, they maybe you could think of like putting a bus stop near, but again, currently there is only this bus stop. You want the opposite bound, you have to walk to here or walk to here, and obviously that's not ideal. So again, when when you're trying to amend bus services, I don't even know what your motive is, but when you try to amend bus services, you cannot carelessly push every single thing into Street 33. Like the bare minimum is that you have current service 28. Like it has to be 45, 34, and 32 calling this bus stop pair outside Tampines Mart because simply because this kind of route is designed to touch Tampines Mart in the first place. So this kind of connection, the one that I've overlapped the black line with the pink line, whatever that I've just overlapped in pink, you absolutely cannot break this kind of link. You cannot just be like, oh, I want to serve Street 33 and completely forget about like what the bus stop pair outside Tampines Mart is supposed to do in the first place. Like it's supposed to connect people in this fashion. So I would advise people to not carelessly amend every single thing inside Street 33. You need a you need a bus service to do this pink connection and so that they could be connected to Tampines Mart, like from here or from here. Even 291 also does this. It connects people to outside Tampines Mart, and then from outside Tampines Mart, they take it back. See, this is what 291 is was designed for. And despite making many videos about service tree, people for some reason they still misunderstand it. So I'm gonna explain this again. The old 294, it was like this. And I've talked about this before. So when they extended service 294 to link it up with service 357, a town link within Pasir Ris, this was before service 3 even got amended, got extended to Pongo. It still looped at like Street 71. So usually when they do this kind of like feeder bus integrations into one trunk service, they take the fastest route possible. This bus stop pair used to not exist until Tampines East became a thing, but here's the thing. The reason why service 3 is along this main corridor, it's for one simple reason. Hub spoke, hub spoke, hub spoke. So that people along the main corridor, they have access to a bus service. It's just simple. Main corridor. So again, I don't want to see people misunderstanding service tree and making service tree. I know service tree is meant to wind, but this is where you guys really don't understand what this service was designed for in the first place. You don't make service tree go inside here or like go inside. You just don't. The windier parts of service tree, it's inside this sector and it's also within the 357 sector. There are windy parts and there are straight parts, and by design it's just supposed to be like this. I'm not saying that like, oh, you cannot do anything to service tree, but I just want to say, before you do anything to service tree, you need to understand what service tree was designed for in the first place. And I've also seen a lot of people, they just carelessly cut off the connection to these two buses. Okay, again, this was a remnant. This was a remnant as a result of losing 294 historically. So they were like, okay, since the connection from inside Street 21 to outside Avenue 2, like let's say you can hub spoke to Service 20 using this bus stop pair, right? It has already been there ever since like the beginning of time. So there is a very, very good reason why they kept Service 3. I mean, they kept this part of Service 3. Like one direction it goes 23 and 21, and the other direction it goes 21, 21 minor, and then Avenue 2. Again, this is basically why I tell people, you want to amend the bus service, you can, but you need to understand history. Like, why is it even routed like this in the first place? It's because people outside from inside from Street 21, they want a bus that takes them outside to this general area. And if you don't understand that, you would be carelessly thinking about, oh, let's just make service tree do this, or let's just make service tree do this, let's just make service tree do this, that kind of thing. So what I'm trying to say is that this part and this part are both essential. Do not touch them. And most importantly, do not make service tree do something it's not meant to do just because you guys hate the existence of service 291. Because you guys hate feeder bus services in general. Don't do this kind of thing. 291 is already very direct. There is nothing wrong with this bus service. And also one more thing, service tree has always been like this. This portion here is meant to be served by 291. So I don't want to see people trying to amend service tree to do this. No, like by design, this is what it was designed for. Like service tree, it was designed specifically to. It's just an extension of the old 294. So amending service tree to do what it's not supposed to do, it would just completely destroy the purpose of service of like having service tree there in the first place. Likewise for 29. Don't think about sending it here or here. No, 29 is already stuck here. Just leave it as it is. To put it simply, ever since 2003, Service 29 has been the lifeline because 28, it does another purpose, and then there is also 293 as well, which again does this kind of thing. Again, these people, this is their lifeline. Plain and simple. The next one is Service 8. Now, this is such a straightforward service. There's nothing wrong with it. So I don't even understand why there are some people trying to like break it apart or amend it. Because historically, Service 8 was Pasir Ris Drive 3, Drive 4, Drive 1. And over time, this got taken over by Service 17. But basically, Service 8 used to be like this. And then obviously, they truncated Service 8 to Tampines. So they're like, okay, let's take the most direct route to Tampines. And Service 8's purpose is basically, so in essence, I'll zoom out a little bit. You got 518 doing this. It's express, okay. And then you got Service 17 doing this, Simei Avenue. And then you got Service 8 doing this. Service 8 is basically, you could also say Temasek Poly's lifeline. It takes the most direct route from Toa Payoh, and then it cuts through McPherson, Paya Lebar Road, Ubi, and Bedok Reservoir Road. It winds inside there a little bit. It doesn't go Kaki Bukit Avenue 1. It goes inside Bedok Reservoir Road, and it basically feeds everybody into Temasek Poly in the most efficient way possible. And if you're not going to Temasek Poly, it takes like the straightest route into Tampines. Okay, what I mean by that is that Service 8, it used to go to Pasir Ris, right? And then now they changed it so that it goes to Tampines. So Avenue 1 and Avenue 2, they kept it, and it is a high demand corridor. And then there's Avenue 7 as well. So, okay, the best way I could put this is that Service 8 is the most direct route along 7, 2, and 1. And this portion of Service 8, especially because there's Temasek Poly over here, it has to remain like this, and you cannot just change it. And also, like I've talked about, coming from Toa Payoh, McPherson, Bedok Reservoir, all of them, they have to take the most direct route. I mean, these areas, they need Service 8 to take the most direct route to Temasek Poly. Maybe with a little bit of winding, it's fine. But again, Service 8 is meant to be direct, and I see nothing wrong with this route. So please don't touch it for no reason. The other problem that I want to talk about is within Chai Chi. And then there has been some misunderstanding. So Siglat Road, there is 40, and then there is 401. 40 is the only bus service that connects Siglat Road to New Upper Changi Road. So because of that, service 40, in any sense, it's not even supposed to go inside Chai Chi Drive in the first and Chai Chi Street in the first place. Now, you could create on a completely new bus service that connects Siglat Road and inside Chai Chi, right? You could do that with a new service, but there is a reason why. Okay, 401, it's not an everyday service, so let's not even talk about it. Service 40, it has to serve outside, and enough said. Service 26, again, it's very, very simple. It's designed to connect Chai Chi with East West Line in general, all the way up to Kallang. The reason why it's all the way up to Kallang is because there is access penalty, especially along Changi Road. There is no East West Line access. And not just that, there will be people that would greatly appreciate a direct bus between I'll just list them out. Kalang Aljuni, Paya Lebar, which is Geylang Serai, Eunos Kembangan, and every single one of it's a 26 has a lot of elderly. So it's a service that was designed for the elderly, especially for people who who want the most direct route to Geylang Serai, basically. And genuinely, if based on what I've explained, if you're genuinely asking, hey, why not let's merge these together? No, that's completely destroying the purpose of these services. Because like I told you, Service 40, it has to go along the main, like basically all the services along New Upper Changi Road, you could just hub spoke to Service 40 like that. You can just, and then there's this industrial estate, and then there are some amenities along here as well, like coffee shop and stuff like that. That's why 40 has to touch New Upper Changi Road in the first place. So you don't just carelessly merge services like this and just cut off the connection like this. The thing is, like, it just doesn't work. Like, even if you have like one service doing like this, and then you're like, okay, let's merge 26 and 40 and let's do this, right? It just simply doesn't work because, again, I've talked about service 40. The hub spoke is needed. So you cannot just make a bus service like just you cannot just carelessly integrate them to apply this straight line. It's just not, in this context, it just doesn't work. And then people, what they want is basically beyond Geylang Serai, they also have service 26 as well. So making 26 eat up 40 and wine, in this context, it just makes no sense, if you get what I mean. Because you don't just go like, oh, service 26, most people are going to Geylang Serai, right? And then there isn't really a lot of people that are going to, like, Geylang Lorong 1, to Aljunied, Geylang Lorong 1, Boon King Road, Upper Boon King Road, Serangoon Road, Toa Payoh. Yeah, it's like they want a they want a direct link. They don't want Service 26 to like wind East Coast and then Siglap and stuff like that. You know why? Because Service 26, ever since the beginning of time, it was designed to be a straight service, and that's it. Why a straight service? Because of East-West Line access penalty. Because here's the thing, like making Service 26 go inside Chai Chi Drive and Street actually helps it. It doesn't even destroy the purpose of it because these residents, they now have direct access to like all these areas that I've highlighted in black. It's just meant to be a straight line service. So it makes no sense for 26 to eat up Service 40 and just whine. Yeah, and like it just makes no sense. And even if you're like, okay, why not I make Service 26 eat up Service 40, but I keep the Chai Chi connection outside? Again, it still doesn't work because simply because 26 by design connect Chai Chi the straightest route all the way up to Geylang Lorong 1 and Upper Boon King. It's just designed to be like, if I zoom out even more without using the map, so original route and then it got amended like this, right? So now Chai Chi people, they have like straight access all the way up to Geylang Lorong 1 and then it goes to like Toa Payoh. This part has to be straight. You cannot just make it wind like this. By design. Just because the majority of the demand is up till like Geylang Serai, that doesn't necessarily give you the right to just make 26 wine and eat up other bus services for no reason. Because Service 40, it does have its own purpose. It's to connect like Geylang Road, Aljunied Road. There is access penalty. So from Geylang Road, you could access MacPherson Estate like this. That is what Service 40 was designed to do. And Service 40, it's meant to be a lower, even 26 is lower frequency. So you don't merge a lower, you don't merge a lower service frequency with another lower service frequency. You, when you merge them into one, it's like you're not really solving anything because each of them, they have their respective purposes. So you cannot just do it like this. To sum it up in the most simple explanation I can think of. Service 40, MacPherson Estate, East Coast, Siglap. Service 40 is meant to wind like this. 26 goes inside Chai Chi and then just neumes all the way to Geylang Lorong 1 and goes to Toa Payoh. These two are not meant to be merged together. They have their own purpose, their separate purpose, and when you split them apart, it's easier to control the frequency of this service and this service. So yeah. And to keep it super simple, Kalang Aljunied Paya Lebar, Eunos Kembangan, they want direct to Chai Chi. They want the fastest, most direct route to Chai Chi. They are elderly. Nobody is sitting through this just to get to Aljunied and Geylang Lorong 1. That's completely defeating the purpose of having 26 in the first place. This is why I urge you guys to study your bus design, bus route design, and bus route history as well.